back. Gamestars Clash Royale Season 2 is running full steam, packed with high-octane action, intricate strategy, and mountains of gold. Mix the elixirs and hop on your hog, Chief. Time to find out who will dominate the clans. Subscribe, join our stream, and witness brave heroes fighting in Gamestars Clash Royale Season 2. Ride on, Piggy!
Hello everybody, welcome back to Gamestars League Season 2 Western European Regional Finals, and today is the last day. We'll be hanging out in Western Europe tomorrow. Our Eastern European Finals continue on for the next 3 days, but today it's all about 4 players: Inthrill, Lygan, Sasa, and the unbeatable, at least so far, Saint Belican. Hello everybody, I'm Andrew Guy, and I'm very excited to be here for our final day here in Western Europe. As you can see, as you take a look at our bracket, those are the 4 players that will be continuing on to our international group stage. Joining Gensi Aslan, Mini Kuma, The Awesome, and COK from our Middle East Regional Finals. And of course, tomorrow, as I said, our Eastern European Regional Finals will continue on for Gamestars League. Saint Belican has not been beaten yet. He's played 6 games. He's won all of them. Sasa, pretty dang close, 6-2 on the weekend. Inthrill and Lygan, though, have had to do a lot more Clash Royale to get to where they are, but Inthrill was unstoppable yesterday, 6-0, and he did a lot of it with Graveyard and some really great matchups. Lygan, on the other side of it, also played very well. He did our very first best of 5 that went the distance. All 5 games, he was able to pick up his wins with things a little bit heavier. He did go Goblin Drill in one game, but then we saw Electro Giant and, of course, the Royal Giant out of him. So a guy that likes to play a little bit heavier than Inthrill seemed. Inthrill was all about the Graveyard plays and a control Graveyard deck specifically that I had very little success trying to replicate yesterday in Grand Challenges. Then after that, it'll be Saint Belican and Sasa, the man from the UK, and of course Montenegro, will be up in our upper bracket finals. Of course, both of them still have 2 lives to give. One of them will be sent down to our elimination side of the bracket, although no one will be eliminated anymore. All 4 of these guys are going on to our international group stage. It's just about who gets to walk away with the most money. First place getting $500, second $300, and third $200. Fourth place gets that golden ticket to international finals, but will not have any cash to join them along the way. As you can see, these are our most popular cards this weekend. Fireball, by far and away the most popular spell in Clash Royale right now. Dark Prince, Mother Witch, gonna need both of them to have some success, or at least some varied tank on the ground that can do splash damage. Mother Witch is, as you can see, in so many of these decks. As for win conditions, we've been all over the board. Day 1, we saw a lot more Ram Rider and P.E.K.K.A. Haven't seen much of that. Didn't see much of it at all yesterday. Goblin Drill has still been all over this competition. No surprise there. And of course, Royal Giant, Graveyard. Those have been the other 2 most successful win conditions and most popular win conditions in competitive play right now. Graveyard completely dominated CRL last month. And of course, Royal Giant has been all over Grand Challenges and top ladder. But here we go. I'm done talking. Let's get to playing. Lygan, Inthrill in the elimination bracket. One of these guys' journey in Western Europe ends after this 5-game set. It is a best of 5. First player to get to 3 wins. 3 decks must be pre-submitted. Each of those decks can contain 6 of the same cards, but each one must have 2 unique cards. Decks can be repeated, though, in the international, or excuse me, in our regional finals. So here we go. Top of your screen, Inthrill walked into yesterday 1-3, ended up going 6-0 on the day, bringing him up to 7 wins. Lygan dead even, 6-6. After a very, very great best of 5 that he played yesterday against Omer from Germany. Here we go. Ram Rider back into the mix already. Mega Knight running into that Big Mama P.E.K.K.A. Not the best thing that you want to see, but that Inferno Dragon's going to help sizzle it off the board. And we've already seen what both these guys are going to rock today. Mega Knight leaps onto the tower, has to time that Electro Wizard to keep it alive and take the leap there. Not great, but does get a little bit of a positive trade, even though he's still down in Elixir, is Lygan. Bottom of your screen. Lygan, of course, from Spain. Inthrill representing Poland after his civil war yesterday. against Majran, who was unable to pick up a win at Gamestars League, unfortunately for him. The Ram Rider out in both directions. A little bit of change-up, though, when you consider what else they have supporting them. Bandit on both sides, but Mother Witch on one, Inferno Dragon on the other. And, of course, the P.E.K.K.A. versus the Mega Knight. So E-Wiz going to come down. Yep, there's the E-Wiz. Support this Mama P.E.K.K.A. Mega Knight cycled in the back. Lygan already in a very, very good spot here. 994 HP remains on that top right tower. Ram Rider doing work. Dark Prince going to tank for this Ram Rider. Ram Riders meet Ram Rider to slow down Lygan's, but Lygan's Ram Rider almost breaks through there. And Bandit still does. Right-hand side. Inthril having trouble defending right now. Interesting interactions went across that river right there. That'll happen a lot with these bridge spam mirror matches. Obviously no buildings in place, so that stun of the Electro Wizard is ever important. Not only to keep that Inferno Dragon of Inthrils at bay, but of course to stop the charge of the Ram Rider. And of course, Ram Riders meeting Ram Riders is a really great way to defend. As you can see, now the battle is taking place on the left-hand side of the board. Lygan putting together a really nice push here. Fireball in, bring that down to 342. Inthril has to focus on the left-hand side. This already feels like a lost cause for the man from Poland, but still time left. Minute 20 remaining in this game. We have 4 matches coming your way today after this set. It will be St. Belican versus Sasa. We have a potential 5 matches, though, if St. Belican makes his way all the way to the finals, or Sasa does without a loss in the upper bracket, and then loses once in the grand finals. This is double elimination, so we do have a potential 5 matches on the day, as Lygan continues to further his lead here. P.E.K.K.A. going to come down. Look at that. Inthril gets a big-time connection. 988. Fireball in on the opposite side. Mega Knight comes down just in time. 126. Lygan just now in a spell cycle race. He turns up the heat, though, applying pressure at the bridge. Now he should be back around to Fireball. Mega Knight on the bottom of your screen. Not going to be a factor, though. Tower goes down on the top side. Inthril having trouble defending that entire game, just overextending a little bit, trying to create anything on offense. And as you saw, as the elixir started to flow more rapidly in double and triple, he started to have more instances of breaking through, but Lygan was on top of it throughout that entire game. We saw the early connections in that 5 minutes, able to get himself in a substantial lead, and then calmly defending throughout. He was able to use his Ram Rider to defend on the left-hand side to stop Inthril's Ram Rider. He was able to apply as much pressure at the bridge, continue that bridge spam, and just get a little bit of chip value here and there on that right-hand tower with fireballs. Really nicely played and very patiently played by the man from Spain, Lygan, who had a very nice best of 5 yesterday, as I was just mentioning a moment ago, against Omer, who really did give him a run for his money. The final matchup we saw between the two of them was a Royal Giant Graveyard matchup where they did go the distance in time. So not only did they go the distance in games, but also in a few of those games, they did get down to a lowest tower situation. Not necessary here, though, in game number 1. Inthril, not in the best position when you consider the matchup here. Both these guys playing very similar decks, but the difference between the P.E.K.K.A. and the Mega Knight makes it so you have to spend just a little more than you'd like to, making sure that Mama P.E.K.K.A. doesn't make her way all the way to your tower, and that's something that we saw a lot on the right-hand side of the board. Otherwise, pretty similar in what was played in the game. So here we go, game number 2. Ram Rider faring well for Lygan, so Inthril decides to switch it up and go to Hog Rider. Hog Rider plus Valkyrie usually means some sort of Hog spells or Hog cycle deck. Usually going to be Earthquake, Ice Spirit, or Electro Spirit in there, Firecracker, Tesla. But we'll see if he decides to change it up from what's very popular in the meta right now. Speaking of that meta, today's the last day of it. Not only is it the last day for you to push trophies, but it's also the last day of the current meta that we are living in. Gonna see a lot of nerfs out there to cards that have been really popular. And maybe that, well, not maybe, that always means a change in the meta. So here we go, looking like exactly that so far. Lygan on the other side of it, having a lot of great responses to this Hog deck. We'll see if he can keep up, though, with the cycle that I'm sure Inter will be throwing his way. Firecracker not able to get splash damage on that Princess Tower. Log does miss the Firecracker, but does hit the Princess, and as of right now, both these guys trying to play somewhat calm. You don't want to get ahead of yourself in these very low-cost, high-cycle decks, and then find yourself in a deficit. Tesla definitely going to be getting a nerf. Lifetime's going to go from 35 seconds down to 30, which means that health bar will tick down much more quickly, and of course, the hits coming in will be that much more deadly. $21.41 to $21.26, very close game here so far. Royal Delivery for Inthrill. Bit of a surprise there. So with Log and Royal Delivery, I'm curious to see what the last two cards are here. Nice timed Royal Delivery there from Lygan and a high Tesla. Into double elixir already. Haven't seen any spells cycled from Inthrill yet, and Lygan still kind of holding on dropping his 8th card. Lygan still has yet to show 2. Go high Tesla to match the Tesla of Lygan's, like to be placing that Tesla there every single time. Hog Rider still not going to break on through, but in a good position right now cycle-wise. Should be able to get that second Hog Rider down very soon. Miner goes in. And we're going to see Valkyrie Hog on the opposite side. Nice push here, and the rocket comes in. No surprise there, as this deck, this miner control deck with rocket cycle deck has been pretty popular for a while in the meta. We've seen a lot more of it at the highest parts of grand challenges. This is definitely a very high skill cap deck, as it is pretty unforgiving if you make any mistakes. But right now, controlling the game very well is Lygan, and Inthrill hasn't been using that card that is usually an Earthquake, but we did see the change up here with the Royal Delivery. Now we're seeing Miner Rocket cycle. Not in a great place is Inthrill. 739 already remaining on his tower and not able to create any semblance of offense. So he cycles a Hog Rider in the back. Usually the idea here is that you can get another Hog Rider down by the time your opponent gets one building out of the way. And look at that, Earthquake finally comes down. It is cycled too early and not in the correct place. Second Hog Rider in though. And now we should see some nice defense. Royal Delivery ready to go. With the Log, with the Skellies, not able to break on through. And you can see the peanut gallery there of Lygan. Emotes on the side, kind of laughing at Inthrill's inability to get on through. And that rocket means that we're only one rocket away. Inthrill cycles Earthquake on his King Tower, along with that Royal Delivery. And that's going to do it. Lygan up 2-0 here. Inthrill not able to break through early with the Hog Rider deck. And then once we got into double elixir, Lygan always able to have a defensive response. Even the one attempt that we saw at Inthrill cycling the Hog Rider behind King Tower, which is what you usually have to do if you guys do not play 2.6 or the versions of Hog that are the most popular right now. I'm not exactly sure what the cycle was on that one because Royal Delivery is usually not in that deck. If that is what you're playing and you cannot outcycle your opponent, or they always seem to have a Tesla up, you will see people cycle Hogs in the back, build up a push at the bridge, demand the Tesla out of their opponent, and then get the second Hog Rider down by the time their opponent has only cycled a couple cards as opposed to you cycling 4. But as you saw there, Lygan knew exactly what was coming. Once he saw the Hog cycled behind King, he got the Tesla down to deal with the first one, and then he was ready to go. Really nice timing on a handful of those Royal Deliveries, falling right on top of the Hogs, crossing the river, really helping. That drop damage from the Royal Delivery is really, really impactful when you talk about defending. Add in a Log and a couple skeletons, and unable to touch that tower was the Hog Rider. So Inthrill not able to do it with the Ram Rider, not able to do it with Hog Rider. Lygan has worked through 2 decks already, And based off of what we've seen out of the first two out of Inthril, we could see a repeat of what we just saw out of Lygan. I could see him going back to that deck and thinking that he could control the game, control the cycle, and get those rockets out late game. But also, he has another option to go to a third deck if he so chooses. He's had a lot of success today. And going back to what we were talking about a moment ago about the meta changing. A lot of the most popular cards in the meta are getting massive nerfs or reworks. Night Witch, no bats spawned when she goes down. Goblin Drill, one less goblin coming out when it falls off the map. First attack speed, a little bit slower on the Royal Giant. Mother Witch, 4% less HP, along with the 4% less HP Electro Giant. Tesla, as I mentioned, will be dropping a 5-second HP, 5-second lifespan. And of course, the attack range on the Bomber, dropping to 4.5 from 5. So here we go. Game number 3. Inthril, fighting for his life once again after an incredibly successful day yesterday. He's going to be running into Bowler Freeze. Inthril looking like he's going back to some version of bridge spam. Nice NATO here, going to take both of these off the board. Really nicely timed there by Lygan, and oh, nope, Bowler does not get that Magic Archer down, so some E-Barbs come in right behind. We get a Heal Spirit. Heal Spirit not going to do a whole lot for the Magic Archer, but definitely does for those Elite Barbarians, which is why we see the Freeze come in defensively. 4 Elixir in hand for Lygan, just going to have to drop this Baby Dragon down, and not the best thing that you want to see early on there. Great recognition by Inthril, where his opponent had to overspend defensively because of that NATO. Lygan calling good game already. And since that NATO did not take the Magic Archer off the board, Inthril was able to double down on that push with the Elite Barbarians, which demanded the 8 Elixir spend defensively with the Valkyrie and the Freeze. And then we saw that good game out from Lygan. Nice Bandit dash here, going to get on top. Double dash. Bowler has to come down. Lygan having just enough in the tank to defend. Will we see the balloon come out here? The one thing is that Inthril does not have a lot of great air responses, but he has a ton of ground pressure. And as you can see, Inthril using that ground pressure to his advantage right now. Royal Ghost comes down on the left-hand side with those E-Barbs on the right. Bandit dashes in. Magic Archer not able to line up, but that Royal Ghost going to town on that left-hand tower. Bowler comes in to deal with this Magic Archer, stop the bleeding, as all of a sudden the left tower is now lower than the right. We see a push on both sides. It is Graveyard instead of Balloon. Probably should have known that with Valkyrie being in. No Lumberjack, no way to rage things up. Valkyrie up high here, and so far, Lygan able to hang on and get a little bit of offense created, but very, very little in regards to his opponent. Inthril, though, as this game goes on, we'll see how easy it is for him to break on through. Royal Ghost goes to King. Right behind is a Bandit. Maybe an Electro Wizard. Nope, back around to Valkyrie. Elite Barbarians have been a nuisance for Lygan as he has to drop an Electro Wizard here to try to play double duty on both sides, defending not only the E-Barbs, but also this Mother Witch Barbarian barrel push. Graveyard in for Lygan. Still has a chance to make a game out of this. Mother Witch in the back. Freeze maybe? There's the Freeze. Bar Barrel nicely timed there, but damage still done. Lygan back in the lead? No, 1030 to 1020. But a ton of pressure from Inthril here. Bowler should deal with all this on the left-hand side quite well. Does knock everything back. Neither Barbarian makes it on top of the tower. Mother Witch, though. Mother Witch not able to as well. One little piggy push comes through. Magic Archer lines up on the right-hand side. Inthril making a case for it. Royal Ghost caught by that high Valkyrie. Bowler breaking on through. Inferno Dragon there as well. Do we see a Graveyard come down? Mother Witch cycled in the back in anticipation. Ends up being a nicely timed Mother Witch as she works up into that Princess Tower. We see a freeze on both sides. Barbarian Barrel there, along with the Royal Ghost and the Mother Witch. Lygan piling units up. Inthro going on the offense here on the right-hand side. Ewiz comes out in defense. Big-time push here on both sides of the map. Bowler's going to deal with one, but how on earth will Lygan stop the other? Defensive freeze just in time. Bandit trying to come down as well. A NATO over to the right-hand side. Lygan in the lead. Magic Archer lines up, and that is going to do it. Inthrill gets in just enough damage in just the nick of time. We're going to game number 4. Great plays there from Inthrill, who found himself, as we got deeper into double and triple elixir, in a bit of trouble. Magic Archer lineups and a ton of bridge pressure was what was the name of the game for the man from Poland. We saw a lot of Royal Ghosts getting a ton of damage in early on. Lygan had to sacrifice a lot of damage early game because of that overspend. You saw him try to line up that bowler with a NATO to try to take the Magic Archer plus the Bandit off the board. The Magic Archer survives with just a sliver of HP, and that allows Inthrill to go in with the Elite Barbarians plus Heal Spirit push. Heal Spirit doesn't do a whole lot for the Magic Archer, but does allow those Elite Barbarians to create enough of a threat that an overspend has to come in defensively from Lygan. And from that point on, it felt like the game was just firmly in Inthrill's control. However, you get deeper into double elixir, on the way to triple elixir, and Lygan continued to find himself in great positions. When you talk about being able to focus on those air units, that was the one thing that Inthrill was struggling with, was getting enough single target DPS on top of those baby dragons and inferno dragons. However, on the ground, that bowler did work for Lygan when you talk about units piling up on either side, especially those Mother Witch piggies coming down after graveyards were dropped. Really, really nice game between both of these guys, but Inthrill is able to take that lead he created early on and ride it on to victory into game number 4. Wow. An elixir pump. I almost forgot what it was called. We haven't seen them in so long. Elixir pump runs into lightning, though. Lightning for Lygan could mean Royal Giant, but most likely will be Electro Giant for him, as he has fared quite well and favored it quite a bit. Top of your screen, when you see elixir pump in the current meta, you're either running into someone crazy that's running bowler pump bow, like my good friend Rich Slayton, who hasn't run that in, I believe, like 4 seasons. But it's going to be 3 Musketeers, without a doubt. Hands down, without a doubt. It will be 3 Musketeers, Royal Ghost, and Bandit, both big parts of that. There is the Electro Giant, as we called just a moment ago, and there are the 3 Musketeers coming in on the one side. No elixir for a Lightning, but NATO, very effective at cleaning those up as well. Look at that. Look at that. Even an elixir, ton of damage in for Lygan. A really nice heads-up NATO to pull in those Musketeers. Not having enough elixir for Lightning, no other way to get on top of them. So what do? Bring him into that Electro Giant, let him do some splash damage, and then let the Dark Prince clean things up. As they both tick to 10, we'll see another pump come down. There it is. Inthrill gets another pump down, another Lightning going to come in as well. Not a great matchup for Inthrill, as he does not have a good building to pull that Electro Giant in. Doesn't have much to stop the Electro Giant, and you don't really love this deck selection, because had it been Electro Giant or Royal Giant, it feels like Inthrill could have struggled defensively, and both of those being win conditions that Lygan are big fans of. But I've seen miracles happen with 3 Musketeers, and maybe now is the time. Another Electro Giant out here for Lygan as he goes hyper-aggressive, knowing that there is no building to stop this Electro Giant. Nice Lightning comes in on top of the Royal Ghost, Princess Tower, and one of those Elite Barbarians. Second Elite Barbarian going to get taken off the board by that Inferno. Royal Ghost and Inferno wave goodbye to one another as they pass crossing this bridge. Bandit now going to tank for the Royal Ghost. That Goblin Cage going to do some great defensive work here for Lygan. And with 1,200 HP remaining and just a couple minutes, Inthrill's got to be feeling the pressure. Two Musketeers working down that right-hand side. Bandit going to help support this left-hand push, and those Musketeers don't get any tank in front of them. One will connect to tower. Brawler going to come in, take it off the board, though. We have 4 Musketeers on the board. Lightning comes in, misses 2 of them. Good opportunity for Inthril to get another pump down on the right-hand side. Instead, he goes E-Barbs up high. E-Barbs plus Bandit, plus Heal Spirit, plus Musketeer. This is a great moment for Inthril. Heal Spirit lands at the perfect time. Great defense, though, here from Ligan. Good offense, better defense. NATO gonna pull that to King. Not gonna get a King Tower activation. Musketeer gets some good damage in on that left-hand side, and the pressure stays relentless here from Ligan. Heal Spirit comes in. Bandit there as well. Nice cleanup. Bandit will get on top of the tower. This pressure is becoming too much. Royal Ghost should get some splash damage. No. Dark Prince squeezes up inside just in time. 606, 1185. The overwhelm is real here. Musketeers up high, gonna get that lightning out, but that's okay for Inthril. That lightning means that he can continue to stay offensive with that drill, and he does not have to worry about an Electro Giant coming down right now, as we see 2 units stacking up, 3 units stacking up on the left-hand side. Will we see an Electro Giant up in front? Will this go? Yes, we will. And now we are in a tower trade situation. Royal Ghost plus Bandit working their way down that right-hand side. Bombers galore on the bottom of your map. Ligan able to get a little bit of damage in with his Electro Giant. The big-time pile-up here on the left-hand side. That is going to do it. There is no way. 2 Bombers, a Dark Prince, an Inferno. E-Barbs coming down on the right-hand side with the Heal Spirit. How on earth was Inthril able to defend that? Lightning in defensively. Inferno going to connect on that top left-hand tower. That's going to do it. Inthril gets 4th place in regional finals. Ligan staying alive, and now will be guaranteed a minimum of $200 here just in our European finals, the Western European regional finals, that is, because we do have our Eastern European finals tomorrow, and $30,000 more to give away once we get on to our international group stage. What a game. Inthril able to really make a case of it late, getting a ton of pressure, the big time overwhelm, the Lightnings getting baited out on top of those Musketeers. Missing 2 of the Musketeers when there were 4 on the board was the issue for Ligan, and that created a big time downhill spiral for at least a minute or so. Then there was the great defense on the other side of the board. Inthril somehow able to stay alive, stay in the game, stop that second Electro Giant. But Ligan keeping up the pressure. When he couldn't get an E-Giant down, he started piling up units in the back of the screen on the back of his side of the board, and then snuck an Electro Giant up front and was able to defend really well with the Goblin Cage, Skeletons, and Bombers galore. And there you see, that game, Ligan was in the lead on both sides for a long time. Game number 2, talk about a tough matchup here. When we're running into basically a hog cycle deck with a really good control deck, Ligan never got ahead of himself, cycled miners when he could, and then started getting those rockets out once we got into double elixir. Going on to game number 3, Ligan not able to keep his lead throughout. He struggled early on, was able to get in the lead at one point with his graveyard, or he was down by maybe 10 HP. But Inthril was relentless in that game, and I believe it was Magic Archer piercing on through a couple times on the left-hand side that gave him the lead. And there you go, the sellout push on the right-hand side. Inferno Dragon takes the tower on the left. And that is going to do it for our man from Poland, at least for now. He will be back when we get to our international group stage on October 18th, where I will be back as well, casting those games, maybe alongside Eric Benamou, maybe not. We'll have to see down the road. But I'll be back the same time as Inthril in October. But there were 3. St. Belican, Sasa, and Ligan CR are the 3 remaining here in Western Europe. And St. Belican has been untouchable. Sasa not far behind, 6-2 to a St. Belican 6-0. Kike Star and Game Freak each able to take 1 game off of our respective competitors that are coming up in this second set of the day. Following that, the loser of this game, whether it be Belican or Sasa, will go down to our lower bracket to face off against Ligan CR. Then the winner of that game or that match will go on to the grand finals to face off against whoever wins this set coming up right now. So at least 3 more best of 5s coming your way, a potential 4 more best of 5s, depending on who wins this next set and who wins in the grand finals. But Inthrill eliminated from our competition, at least for now, but he does have that golden ticket to join the other 4 competitors from the Middle East that have already made their way on through, made a little bit of money along the way. And unfortunately for Inthrill, he will walk away without any paycheck today. But like I said, that golden ticket to our international group stage that will be going on October 18th is when it starts. Our finals will be in November. And talking about our Eastern European finals, those will be here tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those will be cast not by me, but by Eshkato and Style GHG. Those will be going on at the exact same time that this competition has been starting these days. So 10 a.m. here on the West Coast, or of course 7 p.m. Central European Summer Time. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, and follow along with GameStars CR on Twitter. So you know every single time that we go live and every single competition that'll be headed your way. GameStars puts up a lot of really great content, a lot of really great content that happens a lot throughout the year. Season 2 already coming down the pipes after we just wrapped a few months ago on Season 1. So make sure you are subscribed to everything GameStars League so you don't miss any of the action as we hop into some great action here between 2 guys. 75% win rate, bottom of your screen for Sasa. Top of your screen, St. Bellican, the man from the UK, the former Cream Royale Betis and Team Queso player, undefeated, representing the UK. Sasa, of course, representing Montenegro, as we see a bit of a staring match to start this set, the final set in our upper bracket before we get to our grand finals. Haven't seen these guys play in a couple of days. They were able to sit back and hang out yesterday as they earned it, having a very great day number 1. St. Bellican, one of the older competitors now in this competition. I've been watching him since he was 16 years old. He's now 19. Sasa, just a little bit older, 20 years old, as I said, from Montenegro. And he does like to go by the name Kamikaze, so you can see there on your screen. St. Bellican able to pick up his wins with a lot of different archetypes in his opening day. We saw Graveyard, we saw some Beatdown, we saw some Control, we saw some Mortar. A lot of great stuff there, and here we go as we tick into Double Elixir. Now it's time to see what these guys have brought to play today. So just like that, St. Bellican, Electro Giant on the tower. Opposing side, we see the Balloon coming on through. Belly getting that tower down early on, 30 seconds remaining, and some good defense here for St. Bellican. Should be able to stop this push. And just like that, the staring match ends up in favor of the man from the UK. Really nicely played from him, and a tough start for Sasa at the bottom of your screen. As you can see, that Lava Hound living on that right-hand tower, but it's not going to be enough. Bellican gets another Electro Giant on tower here. Really very nicely played for him, and not what you want to see when you're in the skies and you talk about running into an Electro Giant deck, one with Electro Wizard and NATO. So a very interesting game number 1 here. And you know, last time we saw St. Bellican come out in his opening set, he ran some minor control with Mortar, and this time he decides to open up very, very heavy. So changing things up a bit, and that makes a lot of sense when you consider the level of experience that St. Bellican has in competitive play. He's a guy that has played at the highest level against the best in the game, so never wanting to be too predictable is St. Bellican, and he went with a little bit more control earlier on in the competition, which makes a lot of sense because as you've gotten through the international qualifiers, or you've gotten through the qualifiers to get you to the regional finals, you have to expect the competition is going to get harder and harder every single day. It's going to kind of ramp up as the days move on. So St. Bellican deciding to switch things up and remain unpredictable, and you love to see it. Last time we saw him, he opened up with a Graveyard deck. It was a version of Splash Yard. Baby Dragon, Valkyrie, Mega Minion, and of course Graveyard in there. So quite the change up going to Electro Giant. And then, of course, in game 3 for Belikin, which he also had success with, he went to what was very common in a Valkyrie Magic Archer NATO drill deck. So we'll see what he wants to come out with next. Sasa on the other side of it, not really able to do a whole lot when you talk about how much pressure, how much offense St. Belikin was able to create with that Electro Giant. And then in regards to Sasa's win condition with a Lava Loon push, no Miner there, so Miner can't tank for those pups. It's all about the Lava and Loon coming in together. Belikin able to get damage in with that Electro Dragon, and of course the slow, gonna chain lightning onto that balloon, and then the lightning to pull everything back, or excuse me, the NATO to pull everything back as well. So rough matchup there for Sasa. You don't see Electro Dragon in with Electro Giant a whole lot, but Belly had his number. Sasa ran a spawner deck when we saw him last time, well, at least one of the times that we saw him in his games. He also went with a Ram Rider deck, Ram Rider bridge spam. He was a big fan of Ram Rider. And St. Belikin here, yeah, a slight misplay there. You see the oops come out from Belly as he gets that Night Witch in front of his Golem, which is an odd misplay from him, and we'll see how he's going to pay for it here with this big-time counter push coming in on the other side of it. And also, how will Sasa double down on this push? He's got that Dark Prince pretty healthy. He gets the Giant up in front, and there you go. Great push coming in from Sasa. Kamikaze, Fireball, going to take those all off the board. Prince does come in, and this is a really unfortunate game for St. Belikin. As you can see, he already calls good game. He knows that this is already sewn up because he overspent getting that Golem in front of his Night Witch. No, behind the Night Witch. Night Witch goes off the board. Prince comes in defensively, and Belikin doing everything he can to stop the bleeding. But a really, really rough start from the man from the UK, who looks like he just might be finding his very first loss on the day. See if Sasa ends up even needing to play that 8th card, which is probably going to be Graveyard. A Giant up front. Bomber up high. We'll see when arrows come down here. Cycling units in the back is Sasa, wanting to make sure he can defend. There's the arrows, nicely timed arrows, gets a bunch of the bats off the board, as well as that bomber. We see the clone finally come in for Belikin. And while he's got a lot on the board, will he be able to break through? Fireball misses the Prince. That is a big, big time miss, and Belikin is right back in this game, down 1,000 HP, but getting some good damage in on that King Tower, and you know Sasa has to be so frustrated with that. The arrows came out, then the clone came in, and that clone was just enough. The Fireball miss on top of that Prince was maybe the deciding factor, and now we see the Graveyard come down, Giant in the pocket. Will Belikin be able to defend? Bomber up high, Giant on the tower. Zappies are there as well. Enough DPS does come in, and now we see a massive push coming down the right-hand side. Belikin could get another Golem down if he wants. He decides to double down on this push. There's the clone, big-time clone. Bats galore, Zappies in the pocket with the bomber, all going to that Princess Tower. That's going to be a 3 crown, and Belikin turns that game around after calling good game early on. The missed Fireball from Sasa on top of that Prince, not having enough splash damage. Arrows had to come out early on, so he couldn't get too many units piled up. Sasa had to deal with things as they were coming. So the arrows come out early, they deal with the bats, they deal with some of the Night Witch bats, they deal with the bomber. Then the late clone comes in from St. Belikin. The Fireball comes down from Sasa. It misses the Prince, which is probably the most important part. Maybe it's so tough to say at that point. Fireball can't hit all the units. If you wait too long for those units to pile up, it's going to be too much damage. He pulls the trigger, misses the Prince. Prince connects, tanks for everything, and he gets a 3 crown victory over Sasa, who took that tower early on. Sasa goes for a very great offensive attempt with the Graveyard Giant in the pocket, but it's still not enough. Belikin able to spread out his defense. He gets Zappies right on top of the Graveyard, Bomber behind King Tower. No way you can take both of those off the board unless you spend 7 elixir You have to get the arrows in on top of the bomber and the fireball in on top of the zappies, and then there would be way too much to deal with defensively, and maybe that's what he needed to do. Maybe the fireball did need to come in with the arrows, but then Belican would have gotten the pile up. Sasa would have had to take that tower and win the game on that graveyard giant in the pocket push. Wasn't able to do it, and Belican remains untouchable through 8 games. A perfect 100% showing in Gamestars League Season 2 Western European Regional Finals. And he's looking like the man to beat here in Season 2 Gamestars, period. See here, Electro Wizard putting in work with that big-time Mama P.E.K.K.A. We see a Mother Witch cycled far in the back. Barb Barrel in late to get on top of that Lumberjack. Fish Boy still pulling units away. And the nicely placed Mother Witch spawns units, distracts that Lumberjack. And that was just a brilliant defense from St. Belican. Recognizing how the interactions work to a T, knew exactly where to place that Mother Witch, knew exactly where to place the Fisherman, made sure that that Lumberjack did not get on through to tower, and just like that, he gets the tower down to 690 HP, and now this Ram Rider connection will take that tower down to 250, a couple more nudges, and that's tower down. We see Kamikaze reset already. Another golem on the board. Belican gonna ignore that elite barbarian that really does do a lot of work, bringing that tower down below 1100 HP. But Kamikaze already feeling the heat, one tower down. Belican has been perfect in this competition so far, putting on a clinic. Night Witch sneaks on through. P.E.K.K.A. goes down. Mother Witch spawning piggies. Golem on the tower on one side, Lumberjack on the tower on the other. Basically a tower down on the left-hand side. Now Sasa technically in the lead when you talk about damage, but a big counter push comes in here from Belly. And do we get a Ram Rider? No, we do not. We get a Dark Prince behind. Mother Witch is there as well with the P.E.K.K.A., with the Electro Wizard, and this is a big-time push. Dark Prince not going to be able to connect, but that Ram Rider comes in. It seems like Belican has a ocean of elixir behind him. Ram Rider connects. Lumberjack there for defense, but the pile-up continues as a Barb Barrel comes in with that Mother Witch creating a piggy. Lumberjack goes off the board, and now we see the Mega Minion prevail. Arrow's going to take that tower off the board as Belican resets on the right-hand side. Billy had to assume that could happen, so there it is. Fish Boy up high. I had a feeling it was coming. There's the Mama P.E.K.K.A. Turns and faces the Golem, and now the Mother Witch behind. This is trouble for Sasa. A bit of an overspend here. Belican can very lightly defend on the right-hand side. He just gets a Dark Prince up high, and piggies galore on the map. Mother Witch there as well. Ram Rider gonna get in behind all of that. And just like that, Belly calls good game. The quick 3-0 from Belican every single set. Easy money so far from Belican from the UK. 9-0 on the competition. He defeats Sasa, sends Sasa down to the lower bracket, who Sasa was clearly the strongest number 2 in Western Europe thus far. But Belican puts on a clinic. Games 1 and 3, easy, easy, easy for Belly. Does lose a tower there in game number 3, but game 2, that was the big turnaround game for Belican. I mean, even if he needed a turnaround game, he was already on, at that point, a 7-game win streak. But he loses a tower early on in game number 2. Actually, let's just talk about it as we go through the highlights here. A bit of a staring match in game number 1. Belican gets out the Electro Giant. Sasa on the other side of it gets out the Lava Loon push, but when we talk about having a good matchup here, that Electro Dragon put in work with the NATO, Lightnings as well, and that Electro Giant was unstoppable. We go to game number 2, and we see the early tower take from Kamikaze, the overspend from Belican on defense because of the misplaced Golem. But doesn't matter. Golem clone, one of the worst things to run into in the game. Just like Graveyard, it's never over with Golem clone, and if you misplay one defense, that's all she wrote. Belican steals that second game here in the set. And then here you go. This is that early connection, the first Ram Rider out after the first defense on the Golem, tower down on the left-hand side. Kamikaze, Sasa, able to come back into it. Takes down the left-hand tower with good pressure throughout. And then Belikin overwhelms, overruns, overdefends, and outplays as he stays perfect through 9 games, 3 separate sets, and an unstoppable force that is Saint Belikin from the UK. He's going to be a lot of trouble for everyone out there in Gamestars League Season 2. Saint Belikin has been absolutely perfect, and those are some of the decks that we saw throughout the rest of his competition. We saw him run those decks 1 and 3 on day number 1, and we saw that just a moment ago. Saint Belikin, no stranger to success, as he had great success in our Clash Royale League 2018 European season, Gameopolis 2018 and 19. He was the winner there, and of course SSG Cup gold medal winner there. So Saint Belikin goes and hangs out in our grand finals as he sits back and waits to see who's going to win in the lower bracket between Sasa and Ligan. The two of them have not faced off against each other yet, as Sasa was in the lower part of the upper bracket and Ligan was in the upper part, facing off against the man Saint Belikin. So there you go. That's where we've been and where we're about to go. Inthrill goes 1 and 3 against Ligan. Saint Belikin a quick 3 and 0 over Sasa. Now Sasa back in the mix against Ligan in this next set. Saint Belikin sitting and waits in our grand finals. If Saint Belikin loses, though, in that first set of our grand finals, there will be another set played, because this is a double elimination format here in Gamestars League. Double elimination here, best of 5s, which means the first player to get to 3 wins. And of course, our decks format is a little different than what you'll see in duels. Now, each player gets to bring 3 decks to the competition. Those decks can consist of 6 of the same cards, but each deck has to have 2 unique cards in them. Decks can be repeated. As you saw yesterday, Inthrill repeats his graveyard control deck with Valkyrie, Musketeer, Snowball, Tesla. Runs into back-to-back games going up against Lava Hound, so great success for him, even though we did say goodbye to him earlier on today. But he will be back in our international group stage starting on October 18th. And here we go. Next set of the day. Set 3, best of 5, Sasa, Ligan. Both of them trying to stay in the mix. One of them going to walk away with $200, the other one with $300 probably, or a potential $500, as they still have an opportunity to get first place. But beating Belikin, tough thing to do right now. So here we go, drill out from Sasa as that Royal Ghost works onto the right-hand tower. Fireball comes in from Ligan to stop the bleeding. And now down just an elixir or so with that bandit on the board. We see the Bomber trying to pull double duty here. Ice Golem up high. Bomber going to do work there and create just a little bit of a counter push. Nothing this Royal Ghost can't handle. Inferno Tower. First time we've seen Inferno Tower in this competition. And we'll see how that fares. So far, not a lot of great targets for that Inferno Tower to be used on, but that Royal Ghost trade is not ideal, but not horrible. Royal Ghost in on the right-hand side, drill in on the left. He liked the varied pressure here coming from Sasa, who's trying to rebound from that quick 0-3 set against Saint Belikin. Ligan probably going to sit back and wait for the next offensive push here from Sasa, as he is down just a bit in elixir and in damage. And here you go. Nice pressure on the left-hand side. Drill goes down to the right. Varied lane pressure here. High skeletons to distract the Inferno for at least a moment, as the Royal Ghost goes to work on that left-hand tower. 1320 and 1649. Basically 2 untouched towers by Sasa. We go. First graveyard in here from Ligan. Poison in to deal with those skellies. High Tesla. Ligan saying good luck, knowing that that is not the spell that he wanted to see his opponent have. Usually, these decks are all run with Fireball. Usually, most all decks are run with Fireball right now. What Sasa may be looking for graveyard has that poison in hand. Nice push here on the right-hand side coming in. Ice Golem plus Dark Prince plus Mega Minion plus Bomber Poison, though, still there as the Mega Minion works to tower. Not distracted by the Royal Ghost, and Mega Minion going to do a ton of work on this right-hand tower. One more swing at least brings it down to 823. A big misstep in defense there by Sasa, who is on a bit of a downhill spiral after that set with Belican. Now he drops his lead. Bandit does dash on through to narrow that gap by just a bit, but a really nice push from Ligan. $555, 1278. Nice RNG there on that graveyard. Another push coming in here on the right-hand side. Royal Ghost comes down preemptively. Bomber not cycled in the same lane. Worried about that poison. Drill goes back in on the right-hand side, the healthier of the two towers, but also the lane that we see Ligan working towards, and that's because Sasa's just trying to create some dual lane pressure, and he gets a good amount of damage in. 901 now to 555. A bit of a misplay there defensively by Ligan now. Fireball comes in, misses, no, does hit the Tesla. Graveyard there as well. Help with that poison. In response, 383. Graveyard back down here for Ligan. Fireball in. Is that going to be enough? Skeletons piling up. Poison not doing as much work as you'd like to see. Arrows don't come out. Arrows could have taken the tower, but instead decides to defend. Fireball goes in after arrows clean up the drill. And Ligan does run into poison, but is able to break on through. Nice defense there, a good stronghold, had the options available every single time to defend those drills. And when he wasn't able to defend the drills, he did take a little bit of damage, but the problem was that Sasa had to focus on both lanes. He was never able to pile everything up in one lane because that dual lane pressure was really necessary to make it so that Ligan couldn't just defend on one side of the board and then turn that into the lane he was focusing on, or defend really, really adequately on one side and then go on offense every single time. Either way, though, we saw moments where Ligan decided to take some damage, create a counter push, and get back on offense with Graveyard. The biggest one we saw was that big-time Ice Golem plus Dark Prince plus Bomber plus Mega Minion push. Poison did come in. There was still good defense played by the Tesla, but the Mega Minion able to get on top of that Princess Tower was the first time he was able to break on through and get a ton of damage in, and that changed the momentum of the game pretty rapidly for Sasa, who all of a sudden found himself over defending and kind of in or out of sorts, I should say, with his offensive pushes. Early on, we saw a lot of bandit pressure with those Royal Ghosts. Late game, felt like he was just trying to defend and stay alive. A lot of goblin drills came in, but really just not able to create a whole lot. As you see Dark Prince and Bomber there, along with arrows. Even Ice Golem plus Mega Minion, I believe, was used one time, and that was one of the times that Ligan took some more damage, but that also turned into a great counter push. So, starting today off 6-2, picks up 4 losses in a row. And now, going back to the well here with Goblin Drill plus Bandit. Very similar look as what we saw last game from the top of your screen. Ligan, though, on the bottom of your screen, switching things up. Probably going to Ram Rider, as he was a fan of that earlier in this competition. Decides to go Graveyard. Pekka GY. Poison in again here from Sasa, and didn't seem to have much of an effect last time. We'll see if it does this time around. Even an Elixir. Going to reset here to 10. Decide how they want to come in next. Instead, Sasa decides to stay aggressive. I think around 8, he sends in the Drill along with the Fire Spirit, getting some good damage in there. Dark Prince going to clean up. And not really a substantial lead here is Ligan, Elixir-wise. Ligan most likely just going to sit back and defend as best he can for the next 30 seconds or so before he decides to get any other graveyards out. Does feel like a bit of an overspend early on. Nice arrows there. Cleans up the skeletons plus the Bomber. Gets a little bit of damage on the Princess Tower. Demands a Tesla out of his opponent. And we could see, yeah, I was going to say something cycled in the back here. We get to Dark Prince in front of this Electro Wizard, try to protect it. No. Decides to cycle P.E.K.K.A in the back. And just like that, we see a Bomber plus Bandit plus Drill push on the opposite side. A high Cage and maybe a low Dark Prince. There it is. Dark Prince helps clean up those Goblins. P.E.K.K.A works her way across the board on the right-hand side. Support that with a Mega Minion. And Dark Prince going to help this push here. Graveyard finally comes down. Poison in there to clean things up. Arrow's going to take the Bomber off the board, as well as that Tesla. And now we see a healthy Mega Minion getting distracted by first Fire Spirits, then some nicely played Skeletons. Good defense there by Sasa, and now a lot of damage in on the other side of the board. I think Ligan thought he was going to break on through with that Mega Minion. Arrow's creating some space, but a really nice, clean defense there from Sasa, who's completely in control of this game at the moment. Bomber drill in. Arrows have to come out defensively on top of that Bomber for a -1 trade. One Goblin still on the tower. Wow, that Goblin does work. Poison comes in, and just like that, we are all even going to game number 3. Some really, really great defenses there played by Sasa. Some cheap defenses as well, as you saw that Graveyard locked down by the Poison for a +1 trade there. Mega Minion comes in. We get a Fire Spirit plus some Skeletons to kite that Mega Minion around. Becomes very manageable. And of course, the Tesla hasn't been nerfed yet. Still at 35 seconds and still at a good amount of HP, putting in a ton of defensive presence there for Sasa, helping clean everything up coming across the bridge. Of course, Poison for the Graveyard, and then some nice kiting. All the while, he sends in a big push on the opposite side of the board. That happened a few times. Every single time that we saw Ligan spend enough for a P.E.K.K.A or enough for a Graveyard, the pressure always stayed up from Sasa, and that's really, really important, because the moment that you stop the offensive pressure with those Goblin Drill decks and you focus solely on defense, that's when you lose the advantage that you have. The thing about those decks is they can defend really adequately for a very cheap amount, so probably a better word to be used would be a very efficiently. And then if that's still happening and you're in double and triple elixir, you have to keep up the offensive presence. We saw a lot of Bandits plus Fire Spirits plus Goblin Drills at the bridge. We saw Bombers plus Goblin Drills at the bridge time and time again. All of those things making Ligan have to overspend defensively. Or, as we saw there at the very end, having to use those arrows on just the Bomber for negative trades late in the game. That deck from Sasa cycles so quickly, especially when you talk about the only offensive presence that Ligan can really get down on the board is those Graveyards. That Poison comes into the cycle again and again. And so while he's defending, he's still working his way back around offensively to get that Goblin Drill back on the board. And that's the name of the game when you're running that deck, is just get as many drills down and create some good bridge pressure. And of course, the dual lane pressure we saw early on, not letting anything run away from him, really nicely played there by Sasa, who gets back in that W column after a tough 4 games. So Fisherman just a little bit late allows that Dark Prince to connect on the right-hand side. And now we see a big push here on the left-hand side. Ram Rider does not kite that P.E.K.K.A. P.E.K.K.A plus, wow. P.E.K.K.A plus Mega Minion on the left-hand tower. That is tower down early. And now we see the overspend here on the right-hand side from Kamikaze, trying to get as much as he can out of that misplayed defense, that miskited P.E.K.K.A. And there you go, Fireball on top of the Mother Witch. P.E.K.K.A still getting swings in on that tower. 1964 remains on the King to an 1190 Princess Tower here from Ligan. A really, really unfortunate start there for Sasa. Now Sasa will have to be the aggressor for a lot of what's left of this game. And it was just a few misplaced units in a row. We saw that Fish Boy placed just a little bit late. Allows the Dark Prince to connect on the right-hand side. And then we see the Ram Rider try to come in as well to kite all those units away. And just not able to do it. Doesn't pull the P.E.K.K.A, doesn't pull the Mega Minion. And just like that, an easy tower down for Ligan with 1 minute remaining. This feels like a lost cause for Sasa. Can he make miracles happen here? He's going to need one. Maybe we see an aggressive push here. Yes, there's the Royal Ghost up front. Probably not going to go in with the Ram Rider as well yet. Maybe does. There it is. As soon as that Goblin Cage goes off the board, we see a Fish Boy up high looking for a P.E.K.K.A. No P.E.K.K.A. there, though. E-Wiz plus Mega Minion. And Sasa still making a pretty good attempt here on the right-hand side, but defense just not going to be slipping for Lygan. Having every response in the book, not playing the predictable plays. P.E.K.K.A. doesn't come down that time around. P.E.K.K.A. does come down this time around. No Fish Boy there, though. This time instead, Fireball comes in. And Lygan goes back in the lead, 2-1, as this is a back-and-forth bout between the Spaniard and the man from Montenegro, Sasa. And that was just a really odd game interaction-wise. That'll happen sometimes, right? You hit the battle button, you go in, you're going up even something that could be a good matchup. I'm not even going to talk about matchups specifically for these two guys at the moment. But you go in, and for some reason, your interactions are just off by 1 tile or by a half a second. And that's exactly what we saw here out of Sasa. Was the first thing was the Fisherman being played, missing the Dark Prince pull, allowing the charge, not getting the King Tower activation, and then, of course, that Ram Rider being placed just a little outside. Doesn't distract the P.E.K.K.A. or the Mega Minion, and they get a clear path to the tower. And then we see Sasa kind of double down on his mistakes by getting the Fireball in on top of that Electro Wizard, which you can't really fault him for. At that point, you've lost a tower, you're taking a ton of damage on your King Tower. You might as well get as much as you can out of the offensive push that you've created, which was a Ram Rider plus a Fireball on top of that Electro Wizard, and of course the Ram Rider slow and a little bit of damage. Made it so the E-Wiz falls off the board, but wow, tough stuff there. Tough stuff there. Graveyard not even needed to be used by Lygan, as you kind of had to assume that's what he was running. Didn't ever use anything to slow that Ram Rider down, which is, if it were to have been a Ram Rider matchup, wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense for the arrows. And of course, would have made sense to slow down Sasa's Ram Rider, but didn't even need it. Always had what he needed, whether it was a P.E.K.K.A. or an Electro Wizard plus a Mega Minion. And this time Sasa goes, all right, let's put that deck to bed for a little bit, and let's head to the skies. And Lygan giving it the well played, not loving that his Goblin Cage is cycled early on and out of range, and we'll see how on earth he wants to defend this push. Mega Minion comes in late, tries to target the balloon, and only the balloon. Fireball comes in as well. Balloon does not get a second drop. Mother Witch is there, but not focused on the pups yet. There we go. Now the pups are spawning those piggies. And we see a pretty decent defense from Lygan, all things considered, that the Goblin Cage was cycled early on and wasn't even on the board by the time the balloon came down. Had to wait to drop that Mega Minion down last second, allowing the balloon to get at least one easy drop in, but then the Fireball plus the Mega Minion doing some good work on that balloon. Nicely timed there, so that is at least one way that you could stop the bleeding if you're ever put in that position. And Sasa takes the 10. We get a graveyard. Tombstone out. Don't even know what it's called anymore. We see them so rarely, but we have seen a handful more tombstones in the meta as of late. Not a lot. Usually with these RG decks, though. Belton Dragon's going to get some nice damage here on the left-hand side. Lygan has to just eat it. Knowing that the best situation here for him is a one-tower game. And now he goes up with the pressure. Tombstone. Maybe little, but it is mighty. 2 of those shots in. Fireball on top of those Skeleton Dragons. Royal Giant going to put in a lot of work here on this tower. Dark Prince and Fish Boy still alive. Fish Boy going to get some fish slaps on the tower, and that's going to be tower down on the left-hand side, but now a balloon lava push here on the right-hand side. High Goblin Cage there. Now we see the Mother Witch retarget. Probably going to get a Fireball here late. There it is. Fireball going to clean everything up off the board. Piggy's going to populate the map, and only 18 seconds remain. Will Ligon take this game after an early tower almost take from Kamikaze? 10 seconds remain. No big spell in hand yet. Can he get the fireball down? Can he get the fireball down? There is the fireball, but now having to deal with this Royal Giant plus Dark Prince push. Skeletons off the board. RG in, gonna get a few more shots in on this tower, bringing it down to below 800 HP, just barely above 700. 715 remains. Lava in the pocket. Mega Minion sneaks in front. Goblin Cage comes down. Now what does he have for the balloon? There's the balloon. RG in the pocket as well. Was that the right move? Was that the right move? Getting that Goblin Cage down early. There's the zap. Tower goes down. And that felt like a big-time misplay by Ligon, cycling the Goblin Cage first. Now, you understand the idea, I guess, maybe trying to pull the lava towards King, but that wasn't really what I think his plan was. It was just a lava plus a Mega Minion. The Mega Minion snuck in front of the Lava Hound, so the Goblin Cage wasn't really necessary at that moment. Mega Minion plus can deal with the opponent's Mega Minion. I mean, I think you just double down at that moment. You can get a Mega Minion down, Ligon get a Mega Minion down, and then maybe a Mother Witch down to help deal with his opponents, and then he gets the Cage out when the balloon comes down. But at that point, Cage is out of cycle. Balloon can come in behind the Lava Hound. There's not enough single target DPS to take that balloon off the board. You needed to get it distracted by something, and then you saw Ligon kind of hit the panic button. He goes RG in the pocket, but that's not going to be out DPSing a balloon on your tower already. So trouble there when you talk about defensive sequencing from the Spaniard. So that was game 4. And like I said, back and forth has this set been. And now we're going to go to a game number 5. One of these guys really wanting to face off against Belican in our grand finals, wanting to stay in the hunt for that $500. We still have $1,000 to give away today and over $30,000 left to give away in Gamestars in general. But today, in this moment right now, it's all about Ligon and Sasa. Game number 5. Here we go. 55% win percentage, bottom of your screen, 53 at the top. And Ligon with a hand more full games played as he had to work through that elimination bracket, the lower bracket, ever since day 2. Both of these guys looking for their revenge against St. Belican, who 3-0'd both of them. Ligon got 3-0'd in our 5th match at day 1, which is why he started off in that lower bracket on day 2. And of course, as we just saw a little bit ago, St. Belican 3-0's Sasa in the upper bracket semifinals. I guess at that point, they were the upper bracket finals. So here we go. Sasa top of your screen. Ligon at the bottom. Game number 5. Winner gets to move on to the grand finals. Loser walks away with a $200 check and a ticket to our international group stage taking place in October. Looking like we could see Royal Giants on both sides of the board. Log plus Mega Minion going to do a nice cleanup there and create just a little counter push. Sasa drops his Fisherman. Pressure on both sides here. Heka comes down in the back. Royal Giant from Ligon. Sasa decides not to use the Fisherman to pull the P.E.K.K.A away as it's probably still out of cycle. And there's the Fish Boy up high. Not going to be in time. Ram Rider comes down. Nice push here. Goblin Cage on the other side. Fireball in. Hits everything on the board. Nice fireball there. But P.E.K.K.A still taking on one side. Good log there to get the Electro Wizard off the board. And the Brawler doing some nice cleanup as this Mother Witch gets stopped by the Dark Prince. Ligon having everything he needs defensively. Starts with an early Royal Giant push, and then that Fisherman on his side of the map, taking his opponent's Fisherman out of play, was really the key to that great defense. So Fisherman meeting Fisherman. One goes to the cage, one goes to the P.E.K.K.A, and we see Ligan calling good game, just like that. Feeling like he's got the substantial lead here. Royal Giant comes down. Nothing there to stop it. Only the Ram Rider to slow. Ram Rider slow, plus the Electro Wizard, plus the Fisherman. No way to break through. Really nice defense there from Sasa. Trying to stay alive here. Back and forth set. Games 1 and 3 to Ligan. Games 2 and 4 to the man from Montenegro. 1078 to 2180 with 80 seconds remaining in this set. The final set in our lower bracket. Another pile up here at the river. Ram Rider caught in traffic there. A log is all that'll be necessary to stop this. Ram Rider going to connect on the right-hand side. No log in play. Piggy and Ram Rider on that tower. 1556 to 1006. Ligan having trouble creating any sort of offensive presence. Nice high Mother Witch there. Fireball going to get on top of her and the Dark Prince. Now we can see another Royal Giant come down. There it is, Royal Giant up high. Going to take the Fisherman off the board, though, and this is another situation where we could see a massive pile-up. Nice log, but will the RG be able to get close enough to the tower? No, it will not. Now we see another Electro Wizard come down to have to slow down this Ram Rider. Maybe a log comes in here to support. No, Fireball comes down as the Mother Witch is cleaned up off the board. Now we see a high Fisherman, Royal Giant there to meet, and that should do it. Goblin Cage in cycle. Goblin Cage comes out on the right-hand side. Royal Giant on the tower. Ligan will be going to the grand finals to face off against Belican, trying to get redemption from day number 1. Sasa goes to 3rd place, $200 in his pocket. And of course, that international group stage golden ticket also there as well. So a very, very nice back and forth between the two of them. We do go the distance in that set. Sasa, though, does get eliminated by the Spaniard Ligan, who will go to face off against St. Belican in our grand finals for Western Europe. What a great back and forth game there. And really the damage done early on from Ligan was what was the name of the game. Let's hop back into our highlights and take a look at this great set. Early on, it was the spell damage from Ligan and the control of those Goblin drills, having everything he needed in hand to deal with those drills. Talk about having the correct responses. Let's take a look at game number 2. Everything that you might need to go up against this graveyard deck. Everything that you might need to control everything defensively. And of course, those drills were flying like crazy. Here we go, game number 3. The miss pull in the beginning. You could see the offense that was created by it was the Ram Rider on the right-hand side, but unfortunately for Sasa, Ligan's P.E.K.K.A and Mega Minion waved goodbye to that Ram Rider and waved hello to that Princess Tower, taking it out of play. Game number 4. Tower trades galore, it felt like, and it really seemed like this was Ligan's game and Ligan's set at this moment. But the misplay here, getting that cage out too early on, allows the balloon to come in, take that Princess Tower, and we were in a very quick 2-tower race. And here we go, what we just saw, game number 5. Royal Giants coming in a handful of times from Ligan. Sasa was able to keep them at bay pretty much throughout the middle of that match, but in the beginning and the very end, those were when the RGs were able to break through, and that's all that Ligan needed to take that set. The worst he can do is 2nd place and $300. The best he can do at this point is 1st place, but he has to beat St. Belican 6 times. 6 times in 2 sets. That seems like a very, very tough ask, as St. Belican has been unstoppable so far in this tournament. 9-0. Why does he have to beat him twice? Why does he have to beat him 6 times? Because this is double elimination. As you can see, Ligan already lost to St. Belican early on in the competition, but was able to work through Omer Inthril, and Sasa, really proving himself as the #2 man here in Western Europe. St. Belican, though, on the other side of it, not even a game taken off that young man. He almost dropped game #2 in his set against Sasa, as his Golem clone deck just a little out of cycle early on because of a misplaced Night Witch. Giant graveyard from his opponent, and Belican was able to bounce back with a late regulation tower take, and then of course that 3 crown coming in at the very end. So there you go. That's where we've been today, and this is where we're going. St. Belican going to face off against Ligan. A rematch of our 5th match of day #1. The 5th match of the entirety of the Western European regional finals was St. Belican versus Ligan, as you just saw there on the bracket. But Ligan was not able to take a game off of St. Belican. Now he's going to have to take 2 sets in a row off of the man from the UK. Don't know if he's going to be able to do it. Former SSG Cup winner, 2-time Gameopolis winner in 2018 and 2019, and of course CRL 2018's European champion is St. Belican, the most experienced player that I've seen so far in the competition, and of course the most storied player, and now the winningest player that we've seen. No one else, even over in the Middle Eastern regional finals, were able to have such a successful run as what we've seen St. Belican do. Now, we saw the 3 decks that he played earlier on, and we'll see how he's going to bring those decks to play in this grand finals. He has to lose twice. That's right. He has to lose 2 sets in a row for Ligan to be the champion of these grand finals. Of course, Belican, since he has been unstoppable, just needs to pick up 3 more games. And here we go. A Goblin Hut out early from Belly. Log going to stop that Barbell from creating much of a presence. And a Mother Witch going to try to get as many piggies on the board as possible. High Mega Minion, though. That Mega Minion will get just enough damage in to take that Mother Witch off the board and stop her from getting 3 more piggies out. And a nice Miner going to come in, demands the Electro Wizard out, as he would have been tanking for at least one of those Spear Goblins. So Belican changing it up again. Cannon card, first time we're seeing that card played today. And with that Ram Rider coming in, it's going to say you have to assume another Goblin Hut will come down from Belican, as he played 5 cards. Was able to get back around to that hut and definitely had the elixir for it in hand. Bar Barrel just out of range of that cannon cart. Going to clean up those Spear Goblins and demand a log out of Belly here. Ligan just a hair ahead of an elixir. Decides to P.E.K.K.A up in the back. Belican responds in kind. A little bit of a Mama P.E.K.K.A walk-in stereo. Ewiz going to come in and give Belican the substantial lead in this exchange. That stun does so much in allowing that Mama P.E.K.K.A to remain incredibly healthy. So P.E.K.K.A going to get pulled in by that Fisherman. Fisherman going to get taken off the board by the P.E.K.K.A. There it is. Miner goes in on top of the Ewiz. Ewiz stays alive. And Ligan gets a nice little bit of damage there. Piggy pushing that Barbarian on top of the tower. Gets 1 swing. Poison out for Belly. Fireball might have been nicer in this specific matchup. And right now, before that poison, has the slow in there. Got to be pretty perfectly timed on top of that Mother Witch. 15% slow. Going to come in on top of those poisons as of tomorrow, where we'll have our Eastern European finals starting at 7 p.m. Central European Summer Time, along with a brand new meta for competition. Exciting stuff there for Eshkato and Style GHG, who will be your commentators tomorrow, as I will take a leave of absence until the 18th of October from Gamestars League. Very excited to come back as we work into overtime. 2 minutes remain in this game with very little damage done. 2048 is the weakest tower on the board to a 2159 from Belican on the top left-hand side of your screen. Dark Prince plus a Ram Rider here. Will a second hut be able to come into play? Absolutely not. as that Ram Rider connects on the left-hand side. St. Belican now going to try to create some pressure here on the left-hand side. Fisherman going to go to the miner. And now we see the idea there, trying to protect that cannon cart. Now cannon cart gets pulled into the fish boy and goes to the tower. That's exactly what Belican was going for. Fish boy gets the cannon cart in close. Cannon cart gets to get on tower and, of course, tank for that P.E.K.K.A. Belican piling it up here on the bridge, but I don't think he'll get much damage out of this. Nice log comes in. Now Fisherman back in play as he cycles all the way around. Belican narrowing that gap, 1547 to 1638. Cannon cart going to be played up high. Miner going to go to the back, pull that unit around. Dark Prince has to come in on top of this cannon cart. Mega Mini there to support, but not enough DPS in time to get that cannon cart within range of the Princess Tower. Belly now back in the lead with that poison log. Tides shifting in favor of the man from the UK once again, as they always seem to do somehow so far in Western Europe. Miner goes into the back, getting tanked for by the P.E.K.K.A. Nice pickup there from the Dark Prince. Goblin Hut comes down to respond to the Ram Rider. Ram Rider not going to have to be worried about here, as it does go towards the healthier of Belican's two towers. Belican dealing with all this on the left-hand side. Doesn't want to give too good of a counter push here, as Lygan creates a pretty decent counter push on both sides of the board. Ram Rider back in. 10 seconds remain. Belican somehow stays perfect through 10 games. That's right, 10 games in a row. St. Belican, unstoppable here in Western Europe. I don't know how many other ways to say it. Unstoppable, inevitable, undisputed. Belican here, the man that is reigning supreme in Western Europe, picks up his 10th game win in a row. I mean, at this point, you'd think he'd at least run into a really bad matchup. And the one time that we saw him have a big-time misplay, he was able to come back with Golem Clone in Game 2 against Sasa's Giant Graveyard. And now with a very different look than we've seen him have so far, is this P.E.K.K.A. Miner Goblin Hut deck. Worked out really well, at least for him. He was able to create pressure with the cannon carts, get them pulled in by that Fisherman. Something that we've seen Belican do a couple times now in the competition. He just waits for his moment, searches for it, patiently. And we've seen him a couple times now get a cannon cart pulled into dangerous range. This time it wasn't as substantial as last time when we saw him get a cannon cart pulled in to range of a Princess Tower late game, and then he pulled the trigger on a graveyard, which allowed him to take that tower, or at least take that game. And then here we saw cannon cart gets pulled in by the Fisherman, and it starts a bit of a downhill spiral for Lygan. Fisherman pulls in the cannon cart gets on Princess Tower. Princess Tower is distracted by the cannon cart on that P.E.K.K.A. Then we see the overspend having to come in defensively, which allowed St. Belican to shift that game to the left-hand side solely. And then we started to see Lygan's Ram Rider have to go to the opposite lane, but Belican could under-defend. He could min-max, as you will, taking damage on the right-hand side or underspending on the right-hand side, and continue to apply pressure on the left. Really great stuff out of him with those miners. Miners looking to redirect. Miners moving all around that Princess Tower, getting some chip damage in, or just trying to distract Lygan's defensive players, defensive troops, and allowing the cannon cart to break through. So here we go. Belican, 100% on the weekend. Will he keep the trend going now in game number 2 of our grand finals here in the West? And the lightning comes in on top of the Furnace, Princess Tower, and the cannon cart. Not what you want to see if you're Lygan. But now we see a nice push here. Flying Machine plus Elite Barbarians, and that's a pretty hefty push. E-Barb on the tower, Flying Machine on the tower. Late E-Wiz comes in. E-Wiz going to get cleaned up off the board. Flying Machine stays in. And that is a beautiful offensive assault. A haymaker thrown by Lygan, letting Belican know he is not going to go quietly into the night. What a great way to start this game. 1080 remains to Belican's 2270 from that lightning. Belican may be getting a little bit too comfortable there. Fisherman comes in here, brings in that cannon cart. Cannon cart gets within range of the Princess Tower, but not enough damage on that fish boy to get the cannon cart to retarget and add some more damage to that 1080. We've seen Belikin in a deficit before. Will this be the game that he finally drops? Could this start Lygan's run for his grand championship here in the West? We'll see. The former SSG, CRL, Europe, and Gameopolis champion might have something to say about that. Fisherman comes down just in time. Gets the well played out from his opponent, knowing that that flying machine cannot continue to do what it did at the beginning of this game. And we'll see if Belikin just continues to pull the trigger on these lightnings. This time he just sends a Ram Rider in up high. Mecha cycled in the back, and as you might have heard Eric Benamou talk about last season, and something that we talked about in CRL, is when you have nothing else to do and you don't have a big offensive threat coming in, you have the elixir for it, you want to cycle your P.E.K.K.A. always in the weaker of your two lanes. And now we see Belikin doing just that and trying to apply pressure in both sides of the board. E-Barbs come out split in the back, and that Mother Witch gets cleaned up off the board before the Piggy populates with that Mother Witch curse. High E was here to make sure that flying machine doesn't break on through again. Belikin now found his defensive rhythm. Now he just needs to find his offensive presence. Nice lightning value there if he decides to take it. But with that hut going off the board, Belikin finding himself in that tough spot, which is exactly why Lygan is placing those units where he is. Belikin with 90 seconds left to play. Still not out of it yet, but in a very tough spot. Nice lightning there. Goblin Hut going to come off the board here, but a massive push. I don't know how Belly's going to deal with this. E-Bar breaks on through. That's going to do it. Belikin calls good game. He drops his first game of the entire competition to Lygan, the next best player we've seen so far here in Western Europe. And you see there, Belikin just overspending early on. You see the idea why he's able to get on top of a building. He's able to get on top of the cannon cart, as well as, of course, the Princess Tower. But good recognition from his opponent in Lygan. Okay, if that's your big spell, then I don't know how you're going to deal with an Elite Barbarians plus Flying Machine push. That's a moment where Fireball would be wonderful, and Belikin just did not have enough to respond. You saw the Electro Wizard coming down late, gets eaten alive. That plus the Bar Barrel comes in from his opponent. Flying Machine stays on the tower the entire time, brings it all the way down to 1080 early on. Belikin may be getting just a little bit too comfortable, but also you saw late game there. How on earth was Belly going to deal with those big-time pileups at the bridge? It's really hard to get an effective lightning in. I guess it could have come with a perfectly timed Bar Barrel and a lightning right on top of that that would have ideally hit both the Elite Barbarians and the Flying Machine. But that's a really, really tough needle to thread. Lygan takes advantage of that, and we're even going into game number 3, the first game that St. Belikin has dropped. And I know I've said that a couple times, but it is a big moment. Absolutely is a big moment. He's been playing perfectly in this entire competition. And now he sees his first moment of resistance. Let's see if Lygan can continue that trend as we go to game number 3 in our grand finals. So Belikin may be going back to Mortar. We'll have to find out. Lygan looking like he's going to go to Hog Cycle here. Now looking more like Graveyard. And a high Goblin Cage here. Catch that Hog Rider. Goblin Brawler going to put in some nice damage there. Allows that Hog to not get any hits. That is the perfect placement and timing, if you're wondering how to stop those Hog Riders for a perfect 4-for-4 trade. Lygan sees the well played. Gets the King Tower activation. Gets this cannon cart to go off of its wheels. And a high Valkyrie here. Not going to be enough for the cage, but a snowball will come in and allow that Hog just to get one hit as that Firecracker stays out of range. but does get one shot there at the end. Firecracker still one of the most frustrating cards to deal with one of the most fascinating interactions in the game. Absolutely love the Firecracker. And this version most likely or usually has Tesla, Log, and Earthquake as the final 3 cards. This is the deck that I actually was able to push to my highest personal best in trophies. Finally getting above 6,600. I'll pat myself there on the back as we work our way into double elixir. There you go. Tesla comes out. Hog Rider does not get a hit. Graveyard comes in. Earthquake on top of that Graveyard. Earthquake could have been saved maybe a half second longer, but Lygan decides to over-defend. He drops the... Not even over-defend, because it's still an even trade, but he drops the Earthquake down instantly, and then the Log down to clean up anything that the Earthquake misses. The biggest threat is that pile-up at the beginning of those Graveyards. Nice placement there with the Cage, going to allow the Cannon Cart to help clean up that Hog Rider, and here we go, the repeat, cleanup. Goblin Brawler, though, going to demand just a little bit of attention here. There it is, Ice Spirit. Now we see 2 Cannon Carts on the right-hand side. Valkyrie, they're going to be taken off the board with the first one, and now we're going to have to see maybe a Tesla. There it is. Tesla comes down. Second Cannon Cart still very, very healthy, and the Cannon Cart does connect. Log takes it off its wheels, and that is a beautiful string of interactions by St. Belican, who now goes back on offense with the Graveyard there. Valkyrie taken for the Skellies. Slow there with the Skeletons. Snowball comes in with the Earthquake now to defend. Stop the bleeding is Lygan, but now down to 965. In this matchup, that is not what you want to see. Game number 3, strongly in favor of St. Belican. You never want to be this far down with this Hog Cycle deck. We're going to see a high Valkyrie here to distract. Then we're going to see a low Goblin Cage. There it is. Nice Earthquake comes in. Snowball comes in last second. Hog Rider will get 1 hit, but now no Earthquake in defense here of this Cannon Cart plus Graveyard push. Valkyrie has to come down. Fireball comes in. Creates just a little bit more room there. Pushes the Valkyrie away. 2 more Skeletons get on tower. Ice Spirit has to come out. 391 remains. Hog Rider comes out here. Goblin Cage should be back around. Goblin Cage goes low. Nice recognition there with that Earthquake in the perfect spot. But Snowball comes in to stop any more damage to come in. Nice high Valkyrie there. Catches the Cannon Cart. Now that Firecracker stays alive, St. Belican misses the Firecracker. Firecracker will take the Cannon Cart off the board, and another Hog Rider can come down. But defense needs to be played first. Snowball comes in. Log first. No Earthquake being spent offensively. Earthquake has to be used defensively. Hog Rider is in on the tower, and that Firecracker does not get any splash damage. Snowball should do it, and there it is. Snowball cleans up the right-hand side before the Hog Rider comes down on the left. Lygan was able to really come back into that game, but it was just the one Cannon Cart breaking through from St. Belican. Beautiful, beautiful recognition of what the options were to play defense against that first Cannon Cart. So what does Belican do? He gets a Mega Minion and a second Cannon Cart down. Valkyrie gets cleaned up off the board almost instantaneously. Then a Tesla comes in and Skeletons on top of that. All of that isn't enough. A Log finally comes down from Lygan, but that Log doesn't push the Cannon Cart back. It actually takes it off of its wheels. Cannon Cart connects on tower. Then Mega Minion can come in. On top of that, another Graveyard comes down. Actually, I think it was a Valkyrie that came in, excuse me, from Belican. And then another Graveyard comes down. Beautiful stuff there. Lygan found himself spending an arm and a leg defensively, which really stopped his offensive presence. That's what you need when you're playing that Hog Rider deck. You can't have any of those mistakes on defense, because that happens and all of a sudden you are out of cycle offensively. That Hog Rider needs to be coming down almost every single time, other than when your opponent overspends on offense, then you got to overspend on defense. That's exactly what we saw, but Lygan's overspend on defense just came up a little bit short, and then he had to continue overspending on defense, which meant less Hog Riders coming down. A really, really great game there from St. Belican, using his Cannon Carts to the utmost, having those Goblin Cages down just in perfect timing early on. And then once he knew the Earthquake cycles were coming in, he had that Snowball ready to go most of the time. Here we go. St. Belican, 1 game away from becoming our Western European champion. $500. That ticket is already securely in his pocket for our international group stage. But now, just putting fear into all of his other competitors with a record of 11-1 right now. Only one game been dropped the entire run here. You see that high fire spirit being played just in case his opponent did have the magic archer, which was pretty unlikely with the Mother Witch in play, but Bella can rather be safe than sorry. Log plus bomber. Nice play there. Gets the chip damage on tower, and that's Pelican just knowing every interaction through and through, wanting to get as much chip damage where he can. Never an elixir wasted by the man from the UK. Wow, look at that. Fire Spirit comes in first. Makes it so the cannon cart is stopped. Tesla doesn't come up. Fireball comes in. And that was just a wonderful bit of fortune for St. Belican, who can now stay hyper-aggressive. So doesn't get a ton out of it, but still is in a nice spot elixir-wise. Tesla comes in up high. Dark Prince going to be played down low. There it is. Dark Prince comes down at the perfect time, pulls the goblin over. Going to get the splash damage here on top of them. One goblin gets to tower. And we see him pretty much even in elixir now. Skeletons coming in case the bandit was the only option for Lygan. Makes him have to spend a little bit extra on that barb barrel first. And a missed fire spirit there from Belly. Would have liked to get that bandit dash in on the fire spirit, and he gives a little bit of love to his opponent for that one. Fireball up high here on top of that cannon. Cannon cart goes off of its wheels. Bomber gets taken off the board. And this is just going to be a relentless back and forth cycle. Nice play there on the skeletons. However, the barb barrel does not hit all three of them, which then allows that Dark Prince charge to still come out of play. Belican still comes out on top. Log coming in there to clean up the first cannon cart. Second one comes down here for Lygan. Tesla back out for Belly. Fireball in on that Mother Witch. Dark Prince going to come in as well. There you go. Skeletons up high this time around. Belican trying to make some positive elixir trades here. You see a really nice counter push here. Dark Prince doesn't get charged on. Barb Barrel has to come down as well. So a big time overspend there defensively for Lygan. But now he's got a really nice counter push. High skeletons here. Not going to be enough for the Barb Barrel. Stops the Dark Prince. Fireball going to get on top of both of these guys. Really, really nice fireball there as the Dark Prince shield is off the board. Goblins get on top of the tower. And Lygan now goes back in the lead. Bit of stop and stare here for the moment. These guys just trying to build their perfect offensive push. Although it does seem like Belican is starting to struggle a little bit here. Nice Fire Spirit plus skeletons there. He's trying to vary up his defense a little bit to get that Dark Prince more involved offensively. You like seeing these Mother Witches cycled on the right-hand side because it's been making Belican spend fireballs, and now you see Lygan recognizes, okay, you're not going to fireball my Mother Witch, let me just continue with this dual lane pressure. Fireball in on top of the Dark Prince plus the tower. Nice pile up here on the right-hand side. Belican maybe wishes that he would have fireballed that unit, as this cannon cart's going to almost break through. Now Dark Prince has to get involved there. Belican gets that bandit dash on top of tower, and that all comes from that smart Mother Witch cycle on the right-hand side of that King Tower. And look at that, we're going to game number 5. Lygan able to take 2 games off of Belican this set. Those Mother Witches being cycled in the back of the map behind the King Tower to the opposing lane. You saw the fireballs having to come out from Belican every single time. Those fireballs then cannot be used offensively, obviously, because they're not going to be in cycle. So what does Belican do the one time to try to change things up? He goes, all right, let me ignore the Mother Witch. Let me see how Lygan wants to adjust his offensive push. And Lygan does the smart thing. He cycles the Mother Witch, then a little bit later he cycles the Cannon Cart. He just looks for that Bandit as his offensive presence in the left-hand lane, and he doubles down on the right-hand side. So then he creates such a big presence on the opposing side of the board. The Tesla has to focus on that side. The Dark Prince has to come out on that side. And then the Bandit is more than enough for Lygan to get on top of that left-hand tower. Really, really great stuff there from the Spaniard. And now St. Belican feeling the heat a little bit, feeling the position that he's put all of his competitors in so far, that quote-unquote elimination game. But luckily for Belly, he has yet to drop a game. This is a double elimination format, and he's still doing quite well. So there you go. This is the matchup that we just saw. Drills flying in both directions. And of course, St. Belican struggling right now. 2 games up, 2 games down. Same for his opponent in Lygan. Let's go to game number 5 in our grand finals here in Western Europe. Lygan might be going back to drill, as he's had good success with it so far. Ellie going to graveyard. Valkyrie goes to the wrong side. 1 goblin gets on tower. Some nice damage in early on. Lygan does go back to drill, this time with RG, or Royal Ghost. That Royal Ghost going to get on tower here. Royal Ghost, one of my favorite cards in the game as well. It just can create such a great amount of pressure. It demands a response all the time, even with a sliver of HP. And this time we see the Cannon Cart trying to get tanked for by those skeletons. Beautiful play there. Poison is in, but now we see a healthy Cannon Cart breaking on through. Not able to actually get on top of the Princess Tower, but a big-time overspend here from Lygan. Goblin Cage going to come out. As you would assume, this is going to keep the pressure up here for Belly. Make it so that Lygan can't get too comfortable, can't just go right back on offense. Maybe we see a drill out, but it feels like an overspend. He does go drill, so Bomber plus drill push here on the left-hand side. Bomber going to focus on this Valkyrie. Valkyrie gets placed up high. I feel like the Bomber may have gone to the Cannon Cart there, but Belican puts the Valkyrie down. Bomber focuses on that, gets some nice splash damage in. Now trying to get on top of that Princess Tower once again with the Cannon Cart is Belly. Slows down this Tesla. You love to see that slow, but Royal Ghost there once again just in time. Belican is a guy that in his past has had some issues with pressure. Back when King of the Hill was part of CRL, we saw him shift from going later in those sets to earlier in the sets, having more success, I believe, with a little bit less pressure on his shoulders, and wondering right now if he's feeling it or wondering if he's just trying to find his offensive rhythm. Let's find out here as he continues to stay pretty aggressive. Nice fireball there on top of the Bomber. Royal Ghost gets cleaned up. Now that second Cannon Cart comes down, but a second Tesla in the mix as well. Archer's there to help get this Royal Ghost out of play, but that Royal Ghost splash damage with the Tesla, with the Bomber is going to be a very, very nice cleanup here for Lygan, who does stay with a good counter push. Royal Ghost going to work its way on the right-hand side. Valkyrie must come out in response. There is the Valkyrie. Goblin Drill going to come in on the left-hand side now that Valkyrie's out of play. Mega Minion plus Snowball should be enough to clean up. Nope, decides to go with Mega Minion plus Cannon Cart instead. But Cannon Cart almost taken off of its wheels. Not what Belican wanted to see there. Fire Spirit up high. Not going to be enough. Not placed in the correct moment. Bandit going to dash on top of the Cannon Cart, but Mega Minion does cross the river. Poison comes in defensively. Right-hand side, a little bit of damage done for Belly. 1748, 1871 to a much lower 1278. Lygan is in the lead with 90 seconds left to play in our grand finals. Belican going offensive. Very, very heavy offense here. Archers come out in response on the right-hand side. Snowball just a hair early, but still okay. Poison more than enough to defend. Drill in on the left-hand side. Once again, Valkyrie played up high. Going to catch all these goblins, not have to worry about much damage coming in, other than just, of course, that damage that comes in from the drill getting on the board. Now the Royal Ghost going to get right on top of that Princess Tower on the right-hand side. Goblin Cage not placed where Belly needed to. All the way down to 752. And Belican just not able to create any offense because of the cycle of the deck he's going up against, and him, Lygan, having poison instead of fireball. Pelican's last chance effort here on the right-hand side. This is it. Graveyard in. Valkyrie, plus Cannon Cart, plus Mega Minion. Nothing there to catch the Mega Minion. Gonna have to get something on top of that Cannon Cart. Cannon Cart does get dashed on by the Bandit. Enough comes in just in time. A beautiful defensive hold from Lygan, who pushes us to a super grand final, 632 to 1249, but Belican has not lost a set yet. We are going to a bonus set number 5 here in our Western European Regional Finals. Lygan, the first man to take a game off of St. Belican, gives him 3 in one set. And luckily for Belly, he does still have a life to give. What an incredible back and forth. What a great grand finals as we head to our super grand finals. One more best of 5. Both of these guys walking in there 0-0. No lives to give. One walks away in first place, the other in second place. That's the only way it works after this next best of 5. There is no more Clash left to be played after that. This is how the set started. This minor poison control deck, minor P.E.K.K.A. poison with Goblin Hut. Belican controlled that game, able to get some great minor chip damage in, and of course create some space with the minor going to the back of tower. Here we go, game number 2. Early lightning is trouble for Belly. Allows a big time push early on to come through. The flying machine doing the most damage, and then there you see the very end of game number 2. Belly not able to get on top of both of those elite barbarians. Here we go, game number 3. Hog Cycle going up against Graveyard. Graveyard here with the Goblin Cage, the snowballs. Belican had a lot of the responses that you would need in that matchup. Game number 4, though, Lygan, appearing to be the best man with the Goblin Drill so far in this competition, is able to bring it to Belly and push us to game number 5. Belican not rocking that Magic Archer Drill deck that we saw on day 1 that he had so much success with here. Goes back to Graveyard. His opponent was looking for it. Goblin Drill Cycle with Royal Ghost presence everywhere on the board. And of course, that poison there to help clean up the Graveyard. Great decksmanship there from Lygan, the man from Spain. That is the winner of the grand finals there. Those are the decks that he was using today. Those are QR codes on the sides if you'd like to pop them into your phone. You can also take a screenshot here if you don't have time to get to all 3 of those QR codes, but that's just some of the stuff that we've seen out of Lygan in this competition that he's had a lot of success with. The man from Spain who fell to Belican on day number 1, match number 5, battles through our entire lower bracket. He takes out Majran. Oh, excuse me, not Majran. He takes out Omer, then Inthrill, then Sasa, and then St. Belican here in our Western European Regional Finals. We should be going to a Super Grand now. We should be going to a game number 5. And remember, the action continues tomorrow in our Eastern European Regional Finals. Demas, Topic, Diaboom, Astrocratica, Legend, Emix, Predator, and T-Bag. We'll just call it that to keep it PC and family friendly. So it appears that we are actually not going to go to a Super Grand Finals because this is not our international group stage, because all of the guys are already going to be making it through to our international group stage. A bit of a surprise there, as Belkin only lost one set in this entire tournament, but still will have to reap the rewards of his loss in the grand finals. So tomorrow we'll be back, same time, same place, but I will not be here. Eshkato and Style GHG will be here instead. Those guys will be carrying you guys through our Eastern European finals, 7 o'clock Central European summertime in the evening, and of course 10 a.m. here on the West Coast. I will be back October 18th through the 22nd to cast our international group stage, as well as November 3rd through the 5th, where I'll be casting our international finals, where we'll be giving away over $30,000. Remember to subscribe to everything GameStars League, whether it's GameStars CR on Twitter or subscribing here on YouTube. Make sure you turn on your notifications, ring that bell so you know every single time that we go live starting tomorrow in Eastern Europe. I'm Andrew Guy. This has been GameStars League, and I'll be back in just a couple weeks. Remember, keep on clashing.
And we're back. GameStars Clash Royale Season 2 is running full steam, packed with high-octane action, intricate strategy, and mountains of gold. Mix the elixirs and hop on your hog, Chief. Time to find out who will dominate the clans. Subscribe, join our stream, and witness brave heroes fighting in GameStars Clash Royale Season 2. Ride on, piggy!